All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's going to be a tough follow. I am not that energetic. He knocked it out the park, so bear with me here for a couple of minutes. So first, I'd like to say we appreciate sponsoring this Sports Sales Bootcamp. This is our third year doing it at Ticket Galaxy, and unbelievable content. Year after year, it's grown. I've got to see it when I started. I even forget the city that it was at, but I spoke at the first one and then took a year off, and then now I'm speaking at this one. And Troy and his group have done a tremendous job, and hopefully you guys are appreciating the content that you're receiving, and you'll be able to bring it back and use it with your teams or organizations when you return back home. So I'd like to say that. A little bit of background on Ticket Galaxy. Ticket Galaxy is a national reseller, consolidator, ticket sales consultant firm. We're based in South Windsor, Connecticut, just outside of Hartford. Any New Englanders? No? Red Sox fans? All right, cool. So we are a company of 125 full-time employees, which is in the ticket broker world very, very large. Last year, we did just over $215 million in sales and sold approximately 3 million tickets. So if you scale that, it's a pretty large market share that we're blessed to have. And we make very strategic investments across the sports, concert, theater, and group sales, traveling shows, Globetrotters. All the Globetrotters people are here somewhere, right? Whole row of them, yeah, got them. Partners with the Globetrotters, WWE, UFC, Cirque, Disney on Ice, all that stuff. Make very strategic investments and form partnerships with teams and companies and groups across the country. So kind of where I fit in, I started my career in 2002 on the primary side as an inside sales rep for the Miami Heat, pre-Shaq, pre-Dwayne Wade, very miserable team. I laugh where Rob Cornelis was up here earlier talking about the Clippers. We were in a very similar situation in Miami at that point. You guys are a little young, but Alonzo Mourning went down with a kidney problem, and the team was just in disarray. So I had never sold anything in my entire life. Walked in my first, I went to the NBA job fair. I got hired, and moved down to Miami, signed a 6-month lease. Walked in the first day, and they said, well, we're not bringing in an inside sales class. So you're basically on an island by yourself. I said, great, what do you need me to do? Pick up the phone book, start with the S's. So that's what I did, and it was really learn on the go. My managers were selling and actively selling as well, and the training was there, but it wasn't as established as some of the programs and the sales trainers that you guys have afforded to you now. So interesting experiences there. From there, I went to the Miami Dolphins in a sales management role and grew my career. Took a job at the Cleveland Browns, back to the Florida Panthers, and then up here rooted back up in Massachusetts, where I was born and raised, attended UMass, and worked for Ticket Galaxy. So kind of the synergies between myself and my experience on the primary market and Ticket Galaxy were basically formed where our president and executive team obviously noticed the ticket resale business kind of going in the direction of larger scale. Teams were really trying to get a grasp on their secondary markets. They didn't know who was buying tickets, why they were buying tickets. They just would see them on StubHub, on Ticketmaster Resale, on RazorGator at the time, all these different exchanges, and they really didn't know how people were getting tickets. There was fake accounts, there was P.O. boxes, there was people using fake names. It's been going on for years, right? So the stigma of broker or scalper really existed in a negative light with most teams, and I felt very similar to that when I was on the primary side, especially when we got Shaq down in Miami and people come out of the woodwork. Everybody wanted a piece of the action, and it was very fluid situation in sales. We had to be very protective of what we had. But our president, vice president at Ticket Galaxy really realized that the turn was happening. Teams were looking to partner with a broker partner and really strategize together to make sure that they're maintaining pricing integrity. There wasn't going to be $6 tickets on the web, and opportunities for their fans, season ticket holders, to be completely undercut on the secondary market. So they were really making strategic decisions in order to get out in front of that. So we wanted to be a part of that. So, Mike Garvey, who's in the back here, and Steve Kowalski, our president, really made a concerted effort and an investment in being that company that could be the go-to in this consolidation process as it was going on. And there's some other companies as well that stepped up and jumped into that space as well. So my first experience at Ticket Galaxy, when I went in for my interview and my discussion with both Steve and Mike, what do I bring to the table? Well, I bring the other side. I bring, the experience of what you guys are missing on. I bring the primary experience. I bring some primary relationships, but I also bring what they think about in a ticket sales office, what they think about in a ticket ops office, a box office, right? How they're marketing, what their thought process is like, and really marry the two and figure out how we could go and show these teams what we can do for them, how we can help them. So I said the first thing is transparency. Right, the first thing is you have to get away from the stigma of you're the boogeyman, you're the broker that's gonna be hiding outside their box office and waiting and flipping 2 tickets to somebody on the hush, and really the kind of dirty used car salesman, I hate to use that term, but vibe that was get it. Put on a suit, go to a conference, meet people, show up at the arena, have meetings, take people to lunch. Let's get out in front of people, set the table to establish long-term relationships. So that's number one. That number one was key. So, I went and I asked and I said, listen, here are the conferences that I feel on a sports front we need to be at. We need to be at ALSD. We need to be at the National Sports Forum. We need to be at the Ticket Symposium. We need to be at, there's a few more at the time. We need to be at all of these things. We need to be in people's faces. We need them to recognize us as human beings and not people that are trying to skirt their system. All right, so that was number one. So we had to make first impressions with people, right? And that was those early days of those conferences 3-4 years ago at this point were key for us. Nobody knew who we were face to face. They might have talked to us on the phone before, and it was important for us to get in front of people, shake hands, and make great first impressions. Craig just talked about that in the last. You got to be the green shoe, right? What makes you stand out? What makes your company stand out? What makes you stand out as an individual? First impressions are key. You got to be thorough, but not overbearing. Never at a time would I want to go up to a potential prospect or partner that I'm trying to build a relationship with and try to tell them how to do their business, right? I can advise them at how I believe what I've seen successful in other peer-like groups or peer-like teams, but I'm not going to go there and say, you're doing it all wrong, this is what you need to be doing right. It doesn't work that way. It's a standoffish. You're automatically going to get in a defensive posture, and it's not going to go anywhere. So be thorough, but not overbearing. Do your homework. We make it a point before we come to any conference, before we go to any site visit, before we go to, any team meeting on the road, to maybe really research what's going on at that time. Are they making any special announcements? When do they go on sale for season tickets? Is there any front office changes? Is there any player changes? Do your homework. Really be in the know of what's going on with the company or the client that you're going to talk to. Understand the goals for both organizations and figure out how they align with one another. How can what you do help me, and how can what I do help you? Right? I mean, that's the key here. That's the key for synergy, and that's the key for building the long-term relationship. And then previous performance. Use case studies. We bring case studies all the time. We've had some success in some of these, in quite a large portfolio of these experiences. Every one of them completely different. So if I'm going to University of Massachusetts, my alma mater, and saying to them, hey, listen, this is what we believe could be very, very, very beneficial for you revenue-wise, how we can maintain your secondary, provide you data, sales data, customer data, etc. Also, this is what we did for UConn. This is how it performed. And show them real, tangible data behind that of exactly how that worked. That's what they want to see. That's what people want to see. They want to see how their peers are using you or your company to make them successful, and then clicks, right? And we can use that as well. Let's see. So the next point is selling the why. I don't know if any of you were at the Ticket Symposium in Detroit last week. No? Okay. So Chad Estes is an influencer. We talked about influencers in the last. Major influencer. Major player in the games, an EVP for Legends, EVP for the Dallas Cowboys. Innovative, knows everybody, exuberant, excited, just a great guy all around. a guy you'd want to follow in this business. He's extraordinary in my opinion. Talked about anybody ever watched the TED Talk series? Yeah, TED Talk series. So Simon Sinek, I believe the guy's name is, did a TED Talk on selling the why. And selling the why is basically, you made a circle, right? And you put a why in the circle, and then the outside is the how, and the outside of that is the what, right? So everybody's had sales training before. You're selling the end goal, right? You're selling the why they should buy, or why, or what is ultimately it going to why it's going to help, how it's going to help the organization in the end. Not what you're trying to sell them, the tangible product, or how we actually provide them the tangible product. It's why they should buy it at the end. So selling the why, so that's important. Focus on the why, not the what or the how. And then engage in strategy and strategic conversations, right? When you're on the phone, call with a purpose, right? If you're gonna be on the phone, you're gonna be on a Skype message, call with a purpose. Hey, I noticed something here in your data as I was looking through it. Just a little tidbit might help you make some pricing decisions a little bit better while you're dynamically pricing in the future. Having strategy, paying attention, showing people that you're engaged in what they're doing will only help to establish that relationship and really strengthen that relationship on and on and on. Communication. Explain to teams and partners what you're seeing that could ultimately affect the current deal that you're in with them and the relationship in a whole, right? If you're seeing things, I'll give an example. If I'm in an exclusive partnership with a team, right? In a perfect world, I'd want to know that I own approximately 97 to 98% of all the secondary market tickets that are going to be out there, right? I understand there's going to be 2% that kind of get under the radar a little bit, might not to be noticed. Somebody just flipping their tickets on the secondary because they can't make all the games, et cetera, et cetera. It's my job to basically police that. I can't rely necessarily on the team. I can hope that they're going to provide me with that level of comfort, but I need to be able to police that. I need to be able to have those conversations with the team. Hey, I'm seeing these seats on the secondary. I know I don't own them. They're severely undercutting what we're trying to do here. We're trying to keep pricing here. They're bringing pricing down to here. Yeah, maybe it's only 10 seats. Those 10 seats every single game are really having an effect on what we're trying to do. Got to make the team aware of that. Really, what we're seeing, how can it affect that our dealer relationship? How can you help or seek help? That's it as it is. Always asking how I can help you be better. What can I help you with? Constantly, making sure that you're engaged in what they're doing. Like I said before, transparency as challenges or issues arise. So keeping teams in the know. There's changes on the secondary market that you're seeing, making sure that they're aware of them. You would expect that same thing from them, I'd like to know, I use the example a lot, the Yankees. We have quite a large position with the Yankees. And a couple years ago, Derek Jeter obviously announced his retirement. And Derek Jeter, they were going to have a retirement night for Derek Jeter. Now, obviously in the secondary market, and for New Yorkers that don't have Yankees tickets, that is a huge ticket, a huge get, right? We weren't made aware of that announcement of that night until after it was already made, which people that were in the know a couple of days before scooped up all the tickets on the secondary market and then resold them themselves at huge premiums. They were in the know. They had that relationship. They did a better job than we did communicating with the team, and ultimately we didn't make out on the revenues that we should have made on that particular ticket. I don't want to see that happen again in my department for sure. We need to be in the know. We need to be constantly communicating on things. We need to rely on our partners to provide us with information if, hey, we're having a special announcement, we're retiring this guy's jersey, this and that, so we can be ready for things like that. And those are the kind of things that we expect and that we want and we maintain and develop through having great relationships with these people. Industry insight, same thing. Fourth thing is trust, integrity, and authenticity. These are big. And this goes back to the stigma that the secondary market has had and will have. I look at it like this. People say to me sometimes, what separates your company from Joe Pop broker, on the street that's selling tickets? And I say, really, not a whole lot, except for the fact that if you're in the market for a used car. Now, you can go and get a used car on the corner of the sign that says $99 a month, no credit, no job required, $100 down, Or you can walk into a Mercedes-Benz dealership and sit on a $10,000 couch sipping cappuccino and drive a $75,000 car around. You're buying a car either way, right? It's the experience. It's who you're dealing with. That's kind of how I tell the difference. We're doing the same thing. I'm reselling it. I'm buying a ticket. I'm reselling a ticket on the secondary market. I'm hoping to find a little bit of margin to be a sustainable business. But having that integrity, keeping your promises, being trustful, being authentic, being consistent, right? Another thing, people that work for me, I preach consistency for myself. I preach consistency for the reps that are having these conversations. We can't get caught stumbling over words or lying or being untruthful. We have to be consistent. We have to be thoughtful. We have to be trustworthy, because ultimately we could be potentially carrying $2 or $3 or $5 million worth of their tickets in our company. And they have to have a full level of trust that we're going to treat that product the way they need it to be treated in order for it to be successful what they're doing. So, reputation is key. Keep your word. You say you're going to do something, do it. Ultimately, that's just how it is. Everybody's father in here, I'm sure, told them to keep their word, right? And that's, your word is your oak. So the next thing, we talk about transparency, professionally and personally. I have both professional and personal relationships with quite a few people in this business at this point. I've been doing this going on 16 years now, which makes me a dinosaur. But I come to things like this, it's awesome. I get to see these people again. Even if I'm not in a partnership with them right now, I have a personal relationship with them. And that personal relationship may turn into a professional partnership. It may not, but it may lead me to another professional partnership through an introduction. I can't tell you how many people I've met at the bar or at a networking event or at an event like the Braves game last night, at these kind of conferences that have turned into actual business. Not only have helped my career elevate professionally, but have also helped me get business deals. These are the kind of things you want to continue to network. Can't be afraid to just approach somebody. Everybody wants to talk. Everybody wants to talk about themselves. They want to talk about their business. Walk right up to them, ask them a couple of questions. You'll engage a conversation, and who knows where it'll take you. And then recognition is the key to relationship sustainability. You want to be recognized. We go back to the beginning, what I was talking about. You need to make sure that people know who you are, your presence is felt, and you separate yourself. And Craig talked about it before. You separate yourself from the rest of the pack. How are you doing that? We have some ways that we do it at Ticket Galaxy. Obviously, I'm 6'5", so it helps. But other than that, you could blend in. You could blend into the pack unless you figure out a way to make sure you separate yourself, and that's in any facet of business. How are you making yourself separate? How are you being thought about after the fact, 30 minutes later, or 8 minutes later, after 8 seconds later, after people's attention span goes, right? So that is pretty much all I have. Does anybody have any questions? No? Questions? Anything. All right, no questions. All right, well, thank you guys.